Okay, welcome back to What Happens on Vegas. I'm Dr. Stephanie Canestraro. Today we have Dane Johnson. He's a board certified nutritionist, but he has his own really powerful story, which is what we love here on What Happens in Vegas. It's similar to mine with severe gut issues. And let us know, first of all, thanks for being here and taking time to talk.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this space and started owning this space and helping everybody with Crohn's, colitis, and inflammatory bowel disease.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me and everyone out there listening. Let's make this a life-changing conversation. Let's get some takeaways and let's make sure this is a win-win because I'm here to help and serve and create new possibilities because I didn't have this. I didn't have a lot of different leaders and mentors and solutions and resources that we have nowadays. So I want to help lead that. And I think that's part of the answer of the why.
Mm-hmm.
And the the worse the experience, the harder the pain, the more you can do with that, the
Mm-hmm.
more you can create. The biggest issue I had when I was dealing with severe Crohn's and colitis, and it was life-threatening for me, was every naturopath doctor I met, every medical doctor I met, every functional practitioner didn't have Crohn's colitis themselves,
Mm-hmm.
didn't specialize in Crohn's and colitis, didn't have any testimonies of saying, oh, I've seen your case. I've been able to get rid of this diarrhea, this blood, this weight loss, this arthritic pain, this bloating, cramping, urgency. I've been able to find different root causes. It was it was like I was surrounded by such brilliant people, but no one knew how to handle my case specifically. And that's why I really started moving, sprinting in this direction is because I wanted to build something that I never had.
Mm-hmm.
That's the basis. In 2015, I finally recovered, but I'll tell you about that experience, what root issues I found, what were the big changes I made up front. And then I want to give some advice on what I would do in your shoes as a person listening. What are the top changes I want you to make, and how can you reset your mind on what is North Star, what is the win,
Mm-hmm.
how do you find balance in this terrible and tough experience of being chronically sick, whether it's Crohn's, colitis, or any disease. You
Mm-hmm.
know, all of this is very symmetrical with any chronic disease.
Yeah.
So I'll start off with my story. I was just a good old boy from Virginia, and I loved weightlifting. I loved athletics. I was always trying to put on weight and build muscle. I was in the gym 6 days a week since I was 14. I loved to play football, golf, basketball, and I didn't know anything about natural medicine. We grew up eating Subway, Chipotle, Papa John's. We had eating contests. You know, it was something that uh, we didn't. No one in my family had ever been sick or had gut health issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we really weren't prepared. It wasn't like my mom or dad. Nowadays, there's a lot of parents who have sick kids and they go, oh, I know this experience. I know what you do. No, we knew nothing of it. We didn't even know what organic food was back in the 90s. We were from the middle of the woods, nowhere. And so I was also into, I think another root issue with me, I think a lot of people will relate with, I was highly into protein shakes from GNC. So I
Mm-hmm.
was drinking two or three of those whey proteins made with all the trash you can imagine,
Yeah.
and I was staying up late. I was video games. And then when I got a little older, I was drinking alcohol. So you put glyphosate, processed food,
Mm-hmm.
high levels of processed dairy at 80 to 100 grams of protein a day in your body, and then you put yourself on caffeine stimulants like pre-workouts.
Yeah.
And I think it was a recipe for disaster, and no one told me. I was a kid.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of other things going on that I think were root issues, but all of a sudden at 19 years old, I started seeing blood in the stool and my stress was elevated. And then it was a little bit of weight loss and things were happening where I finally got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, then Crohn's disease, then ulcerative colitis. And the doctors put me on prednisone and Asacol. That was the first medications they put me on.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even look up the disease. I was a kid. I said, whatever. I mean, doctor's going to give me some pills. I'm going to go about my life. It's going to go away. Who cares?
Yeah.
That was the ignorance I had as a child. And my mother was the one who was worried, reading it and Googling it. And I was thinking, yeah, mom's worried. What's new? She's always worried about something. You know how mothers are,
Yeah.
right? And I know a lot of mothers out there are listening to that going, yeah, I can relate. And prednisone helped, but then it didn't help. Mesalamine helped a little, then it didn't help. Then went back to the doctor. Hey, doc, I'm still having problems. Okay, let's go on 6-MP. Wow, that's when I really started getting sick.
Yeah.
Night sweats, drug-induced hepatitis, liver issues. I mean, I was having massive issues, and then it was biologics. And once we got to biologics, then my head started turning and going, wait, I'm supposed to stay on these infusions for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of playing around with it like, okay, this is not fitting who I am, how I feel as a person. The deepest part of your soul
Yeah.
starts to shift on what your reality is and how you identify. That's when I started picking up the books, right when they said you're going to be on these drugs for the rest of your life. That's when we started getting really serious,
Mhm.
trying diets, hiring naturopath doctors. I think the first year of trying, we spent about $30,000. And
Mhm.
for my family, that was a ton of money. I didn't come from a wealthy family.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get any results. I would go and buy organic food, almond milk, gluten-free cereal, gluten-free bread. You know, it all started 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and just didn't feel better, lost more weight, was in more pain, more bowel movements. So this time I'm having about 15 to 20 bloody bowel movements a day, urgency, diarrhea, hemorrhoids. I'm up all night, 4, 5, 6 bowel movements a night, all blood, mucus, urgency, diarrhea. I'm covered in cystic acne. At this point, I'm starting to get acne all over my chest, all over my back. And I'm going to different practitioners. And I'm actually in natural medicine school at this point. So I started really deciding to learn this stuff. And I was getting a lot of good information, but I didn't know what to do with it. Like, okay, just go carnivore and cut out all your sugars because the sugars are probably causing the acne.
Mhm.
And, do bone broth fasts.
Mhm.
And another guy told me, oh, only eat pureed carrots for 3 days. And then another person said, oh, you're just going to do a liquid diet. And then I got hooked up with David Klein. Okay, eat 20 bananas a day and you're
Mhm.
going to lose weight and you're going to feel terrible for about 3 or 4 weeks, but then it will get better. Just it'll get better after that, after your body purges.
I know it's
So, yeah, I wake up at 2014. I'm on my deathbed. I'm on a feeding tube. I'm on Entyvio. I'm on methotrexate. I've been on prednisone on and off for years. 40 to 60 milligrams prednisone, start tapering down, come off, doesn't work, go back on.
yeah.
So I'm on 200 milligrams of infused prednisone, 4 different antibiotics, painkillers, ambient, and 3 grams of Dilaudid in December of 2014. If
Wow.
anyone doesn't know what Dilaudid is, it's 7 times stronger than morphine.
Yeah.
So that's legal heroin.
Hmm.
And I'm 20, that was my 27th birthday. So I turned 27 in November. I was hooked up to machines for my birthday. I spent Christmas, my birthday, and New Year's in a hospital. And then I checked myself out in January. And the only reason I didn't pass away in that hospital, because no one knew what to do with me, is my mom. God bless mothers out there, right? You're here on this, and I'm so happy you're here. If you're out there listening and trying to help a loved one, I'm going to give you as much as I can today to help you get results. My mom was the one calling all the doctors that I had ever seen over the last few years and gathering the work and talking to them about my case. What can we do? What can we do? What's going on? Why isn't he getting better? He's already on steroids. He's already on antibiotics. He's already on a feeding tube. He's already on biologics. They want to cut out his colon right now. The surgeon's outside the door waiting to take out my total colon and give me
Yeah.
a stone. And
Yeah.
I'm not even conscious. I'm hitting a button because I got an IV, a PICC line in me for 35 days straight. I hit a button and I'm high as a kite.
Yeah.
So she's speaking on my behalf, saying Dane does not want the surgery. He doesn't want it. And so we kept saying no, no, until I was too sick to even get it. So it was a very dangerous time. My dad flew out, my sisters flew out, my mom was out. So they would take turns staying with me at night, putting a stainless steel bedpan under my butt. I'd release some blood and water, do that 20 to 30 times a day. And what saved me is, and the reason why I got so sick then versus years prior is that eventually it took us years to figure this out. There was a virus in my body that was killing me and that no one could find. It was called cytomegalovirus. And I've said this multiple times, but CMV is a nasty virus. You do not want CMV. And most people who have a really compromised immune system
Mhm.
become susceptible to CMV.
Yeah.
But here's Stephanie, the first golden nugget for anyone out there dealing, I think, with any autoimmune disease. You've been at Cell Core and we've seen all about mold and parasites and all these different stuff and the Trojan horse there. We are sleeping on viruses still. Okay? We are sleeping on viruses. I am 50%, I'd say, of the clients I'm seeing with Crohn's and colitis. I'm testing their blood work with a specific viral load panel in Germany with Dr. Armin, MD. And about 50% or more are coming back with 1 to 4 current active viruses.
Yeah, we test viruses too.
And the problem is when I was working with, Todd Lepine, and he was using Infecto Labs. And when you do a lot of these different, you go to the regular hospital, the viruses, the technology's not there.
No.
You got to use LE Spot. You have to check IgA. People are
Yeah.
only checking IgG and IgM.
Yeah.
Not going to cut it.
Mhm.
And the 6 viruses I'm always checking for is going to be CMV, EBV, VCV, echovirus, Coxsackie, and
Parvo?
what was the other one? We had EBV, CMV, Coxsackie, VCV, echovirus,
Like the other
and I'm
just
forgetting one.
HSV2, do you do
Then we check
HHV6,
HSV, HSV,
Yeah.
HSV. And then we also are checking Yersinia and Campylobacter bacteria, which are like almost never coming positive in quantitative PCR stool analysis, but I'm finding it in the blood.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, it's just like COVID. Some people are asymptomatic to these viruses. When I interviewed Dr. Armin, he's saying that he believes that 90 to 95% of the United States has had this virus, one of these viruses in their system. It's a matter of how the immune system's responding to it. And just like COVID, certain amount of us are asymptomatic and certain amount of us are going into a hospital from it.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a huge correlation with these current active viruses and Crohn's, colitis, which are forms of autoimmune. And I wouldn't be surprised if anyone here who's been diagnosed with an autoimmune, there being a strong likelihood that you have a current and active virus. And that was what was killing me. Now, I had other issues. I found candida, parasites, massive H. pylori causing low stomach acid and ulcerations. At one point, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and gastritis. When I got into functional medicine, that gave me the hint of if you've been diagnosed with gastritis or any kind of upper GI ulcerations or problems in the ileum, H. pylori you should be looking at. Parasites, you should actually be looking at. Parasites love to live in the small intestine, especially around the terminal ileum. And those hints gave me an idea of what root issues were happening in IBD. So when I went to Mayo Clinic, when I went to UCLA, when I went to Cedars-Sinai, no one mentioned any of this. No one even checked.
I did the
It was a
same thing.
tragedy.
Yeah, your story is quite similar to mine. So I feel you. I feel your struggles, and then it creates this mission where then you're passionately talking about these stealth infections, and I feel very connected right now to your kind of
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and Stephanie, what me and you were relating with, and what everyone here, I don't care if you've been diagnosed Crohn's, colitis, or any disease.
Yes.
There is a imbalance in the body.
Yeah.
You can call it a pathogen, a silent root issue. You can call also a toxic overload.
Exactly.
The number one problem that everyone here has, whether it's cognitive, whether it's metabolic, it's 100% gut. You're dealing with chronic disease, the gut is a problem, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Is the body is over toxic and out of balance. And that each one of us responds different to that. If one person gets parasite issues, they might end up with eczema. One person might end up with depression. One person might end up with arthritis. One person might end up with ulcerative colitis.
Yeah, exactly.
Our body is responding different to these root issues, and then we're putting different names on it. And then also the tragedy is that the doctors, this is what also opened my mind up to it, because the doctors first said you have 7 centimeters of ulcerative colitis, mild ulcerative colitis, to extreme ulcerative colitis, to Crohn's disease, to ulcerative colitis with gastritis, back to Crohn's disease.
I know.
And I would go to one doctor and he goes, and I remember there was this doctor, he had all these doctors following around with their notepads taking notes. So this is the VIP king of doctors at UCLA, right? And he's coming in, he's a 35-year vet MD GI, and he's saying, you, sir, have 100% have Crohn's disease. I said, Cedar-Sinai, I said, I had ulcerative colitis.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, they're incorrect. I did your endoscopy, your colonoscopy. You, sir, have Crohn's disease. And then I go back and they said, no. And then Dr. Ha at UCLA said, no, you 100% have ulcerative colitis. And that's what opened up my mind to this idea of what is a diagnosis? It's all the same root issues, whether you call it pancolitis. I know I hear this all the time from people out there who are listening to me right now and saying, Dane, I hear ulcerative colitis, but I don't have ulcerative colitis. I have microscopic colitis.
I know.
I have
Yeah.
cholangioitis colitis. I
I,
have Crohn's. I have gastritis. I have IBS.
yeah.
And I say, look, if you put a different name on it, but you don't understand root cause, there's a very, very high chance that it's very similar root issues with a minor root expression.
Yeah.
You know, doctors don't have a major ability to diagnose Crohn's versus colitis. It's where the inflammation is.
Yeah, I
If they
know.
find inflammation in your upper GI, they're going to argue if it's Crohn's or just ulcerative colitis. If they find it just in your colon, they're going to argue if it's pancolitis or proctitis or diverticulitis or
Yeah.
some itis
Yeah.
of inflammation in the colon.
And that's all they call it. And their treatment goes along with it as an itis because it's like prednisone. Well, prednisone doesn't get to a root cause. It screws up your whole immune system. It
Yep.
creates it it creates a whole plethora of problems that probably add to the disease long term, especially if so the people who take prednisone, which is like a corticosteroid, and it lowers
Mhm.
inflammation enough that they do get relief, maybe their immune system got a chance to take over and kill the bug themselves, and they're just waiting for this lucky moment, right, where prednisone they taper it off and they're like, okay, maybe we got it. But it's like there's no investigation that makes any sense. Logic is fast, right? The all of their studies are slow. Anything that gets into medical school takes 20 years. We're at the front lines looking at the stuff, looking at patterns that we see with our patients, learning from the patterns that we got into with ourselves, which we've passionately tried to find the actual roots to. And to add to the viruses is we're seeing a lot of Lyme disease, and we're seeing a lot, and that doesn't show up as Lyme disease or arthralgia, but it's affecting the gut, or that was one of the big problems for me, or Babesia, Bartonella. And if you're doing
Yeah.
Armand, you're ruling those out too, right? So it's
Yeah.
like all of these, and it's like you said, we have these lists of things that are the same things causing like every disease. So how do they not know about them? Why is this not more well known? Like, and how we're sitting here talking, and that's why we're talking right now to try to get this out to you. But how do we really get it into people's heads before they end up as sick as us?
Yeah.
That, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a great question. And we could spend an hour or two talking about the problems. And I want to give them some credence so people understand the problem. But I really want to focus the rest of this time on giving people the solution of where can you go? Because we can yell at the brick wall, but
Yeah.
it's a brick wall. Here's the biggest reason is because the medical system was never designed to do it. The medical system had to scale that one GI doctor was going to see 100 patients in a week.
Yeah.
You and I both know through doing what we do, we knew if we saw 40 people in a week, we'd be absolutely burnt out because of the time and energy it takes to work with one person. You need 45 minutes to an hour at least per person. And medical insurance only pays for 5 minutes per patient.
Yeah. That's
It's
great.
not the doctors, guys. And that's one thing I want to say. Look, the doctors are really smart. They're geniuses in their own right, but they haven't been taught all these things. They've been taught to be an employee of an emergency care
Yeah.
system, right? They are emergency care physicians. They will save your life. But
Yeah.
finding and treating root issue, dealing with the emotional, the spiritual, the physical,
Yeah.
it's not what they do. And they don't have the systems to do it. And it needs to be outsourced.
Yeah.
And so for you to get the best results possible, you need a medical doctor who is open-minded, who will listen to you. I know that's hard to find, but keep searching. Just keep, every single day, more MDs and more doctors under insurance are becoming more privy to this, and they're more aware. But you have to understand that they can lose their license if they go too heavy into this. That they spent $400,000 in 8 years getting to that license, and it's being held over their head, and there's a lynch over their neck that if they go too far right, they can lose their ability to practice while they're still in debt. Okay, these doctors have their own problems and they're in certain circumstances, and they're not paid to sit with you for an hour. So there's only so much blame there. We have to understand the problem with there, and we have to go left, and you need to work with an integrative functional practitioner who specializes in what you're dealing with. And that's where we need to go, is that you have to understand what resources you need for success. And that's why I built what I built and I do what I do is not to say that I have all the perfect answers. I'm not here to argue with others to say I'm the best Crohn's colitis coach in the world. But at the same time, I don't think anyone has more Crohn's colitis testimonies than me and my team on the planet. I'm here to say we need resources, we need systems. So here's the answer I want you to start working for right now. I want you, your first moves, I want you to start building a plan that you can be consistent with, okay? Stop trying to be perfect and start getting consistent, okay? When you get consistent, one of the biggest goals I want to give you in that consistency is focus on what you're not doing more so than what you are doing in the beginning. The name of the game is getting rid of toxic exposure in the beginning, okay? Toxic exposure is going to help with bioavailability, reduce inflammation. It's going to help your liver, your gallbladder, your drainage. It's going to help with mentality, all of it. So the first thing is, can you get rid of toxins in your home, toxins in your food, toxins in your water, toxins in your air, electromagnetic frequency toxins? Can you start to tap to release trauma, toxic thoughts? So where can you start releasing these toxins? Releasing what you're not doing. Build a plan that you can simplify. You want to put 80% of your day, first thing in the morning and last thing in the night, so you can go live your life and be in balance. When you live your life, you're going to feel more spiritually nourished. If you're clammed up, stuck in your house all day long, that's eventually going to get to you and you're never going to feel normal. And number two is you've got to then personalize. Once you have consistency, you need a place to get trained to personalize. So I highly recommend getting in some sort of functional program. You can either go to school for this, or you can work in a program where they specialize in what you do. When you work in a program where they specialize, you're surrounded by people who already have success. You're surrounded with protocols specifically for how diseases manifest in your life, like Crohn's, colitis, Lyme, mold, whatever it is. And there are people with UC with Lyme. There are people with UC Crohn's with mold. There are people with UC Crohn's with parasites, right? So it all comes full circle. So you need a place where you can learn to customize, where you can be surrounded with community. That's number three. You need to be around like-minded community. When I was sick and I was suffering, I felt alone. Stephanie, I'm sure you felt this way too. I was alone dealing with it, and no one understood. My doctor didn't understand. My parents didn't understand. My significant other, my friends. Yep. I was just alone dealing with this thing, and I was dealing with shame and trauma and food fear and looking in the mirror, not recognizing myself. I was 122 pounds when I left the hospital. I'm 185 today. Wow. So, you know, I had to relearn how to walk. I was housebound for a year. Okay. So these are all traumas that the reason I stepped out and I do what I do is that so other people don't have to go through what I went through. So where's your community? Where is your balance in what you're going to do, and how do you customize it to you? Too many people in the functional medicine world are trying to scale their companies by creating generic plans. You need a personalized plan. It's harder because whoever you work with is going to have to work harder, and they can't scale as easy if they build a customized solution. So there's always that push and pull of impact versus scalability of a business. Right? If people work too much on impact, their company will die and it will all be worth nothing. But if people focus too much on the money and the scaling of their company, then they lose impact.
Yeah.
You need balance of who you are. I'm giving you the raw realness behind the scenes. You need balance of a community and company who has integrity, who has trust, who's going to help you, train you on how to customize that experience to get you empowered. Because the number one thing you need is to become the answer yourself, not just follow your Messiah. You want mentors. You want people to lead. You want people with more experience. But the end goal is that you become the answer. And then you have an outlet of where to continue to learn, to get trained, to have experience. That's why I called the S.H.I.E.L.D. program S.H.I.E.L.D. It's because it's your ability to respond to adversity. It's not, I'm going to teach you how to walk on water like you're Jesus. That's never going to happen. You're going to have to respond to adversity and build your plan, because life takes stress. Okay? You want to get married or have kids or get that promotion or be able to make more money or get in the best shape of your life. That's all stress. So all your dreams require a certain amount of stress. You have to build your shield to be able to respond to that. Okay. So you want to get connected. You want to get involved with a like-minded community where you can talk with others. You can learn from others. You can go to live trainings. You can continue to cherry pick what's going to work from you. And then you've got to be accountable to take action. If you're not journaling and taking action and then writing down what's happening as you do that, you're not going to learn from it. We're
Mhm.
too conditioned to look for the magic answer. Just tell me what to take. Tell me what the best parasite cleanse. Tell me the best mold cleanse. Tell me this. That's generic. It can help for a certain percentage of us, but the less of us are going to get more sick, more herxing, more depressed, more feeling like my body can't heal. There's nothing I can do because you have outsourced your greatest power, which is it's your responsibility to heal, not your doctors, not your naturopath physicians,
Mhm.
not your moms, not your dads, not your significant others. It is 100% your responsibility. We are your team. We empower you. We help train you,
Yeah.
but you have to take full responsibility for that. And people don't want to tell you that.
Yeah.
They want to tell you that they have the perfect answer. You're just going to watch these videos and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. No, it takes
Usually
action.
doesn't happen.
That's an important point. And then if you're a practitioner doing that, trying to give, then you burn out too, because the people
Yep.
have to take responsibility. And you see that when you're a practitioner with those people that want to understand why they're on something, why they're doing something, how to troubleshoot through something when something else comes up. Like those are the people that get the most response to the
Yeah.
program that and we were those people. We had to find answers too. Not
Yeah.
everyone was spoon feeding us everything. And I did a chiropractic degree, but this did not prepare me for this at all. This was
Yeah.
something completely different. I could have had zero training in medicine and had to learn from the ground up with my own experience. So
100%.
so you have to, that's an important point for people listening right now. It's like you can't just be someone's not your savior. You have to save
Yeah.
yourself, but you have to find the people that guide you. I've always had mentors that knew more than me. I still have mentors that always know more than me. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's how you continue learning and you stay interested and curious and but it's important, like you said, to have someone like yourself with and building that community and having people to bounce ideas off of, but not leaning your whole health onto somebody else. It is your
Yep.
responsibility. So thank you
Yep.
for bringing up that point.
Well,
Um,
and Stephanie, maybe something that's also just to add on to that right there is because I didn't have a community, I couldn't have a program I could sign up. I mean, I bought the books and I did all that stuff, but I didn't get real results till that shift changed. So the
yeah.
4 years I was suffering prior, I was just listening to an expert doctor saying, just eat this for 2 weeks and come back and talk to me.
Mhm.
Just take vitamin A, vitamin C, do a goat kefir, do a probiotic, and come back and talk to me. And that would work for a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
Even if you're one of those people who got results doing just the ABCs, what's that look like over 5 years? What's
Yeah.
that look over 10 years? If you do not take full responsibility, how are you going to have be the best version of yourself and have that life you want? It has to be you. You need a place to get trained, learn, and grow. And so
Mhm.
that's what saved me. The
Mhm.
failure years and years made me become my own best answer and the CEO of my health, which
Mhm.
is what allowed me to lead. Because I never fully was able to delegate. I kept trying to delegate to somebody else. I'll pay you. We spent $30,000 first year. I'll pay this doctor. I'll pay that doctor. I'll buy these supplements. I'll buy this. I'll buy that. It wasn't until I took full responsibility.
Mhm.
You should be journaling every single day. And then I'm going to put a link in the show notes for Stephanie. If you need a journal, click that link. We'll make sure you get a journal, print it out, and fill it out.
Mhm.
Okay? Because you have to say, I'm going to wake up and what is my intuition going to help me get better? What am I going to do? Are you meditating? Are you doing sauna? Are you doing binders? Are you doing biofilm busters? Are you just working on your liver gallbladder, your lymph? Are you meditating? Are you doing EFT release of trauma? I mean, what is actually going on and what are you have to be able to assess yourself and act and then be smart about the variables that you're changing each day. That's how winning is done.
Mhm.
And, one of the problems with these programs around the world is they give you all these hacks and they make it so easy for you not to really take responsibility and try and
Mhm.
fail. You have to have those failures. You have to have those daily responses of, I think I'm gonna go a little left here. I'm gonna up this. I'm gonna take that out. I'm gonna add that in. And you're just sitting there saying, this person told me to do it. I'm gonna blindly do it. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, I'm gonna throw it in the air. If you do not have that toughness and it not working perfect, you're never gonna refine your skill set.
Mhm.
And then 10 years from now, it's still going to be another problem or this fear. So
Mhm.
it's really, I mean, we have to really drive this point home because that's where that's where winning is done.
Mhm.
And that's where you're going to save money because you're going to be able to do more yourself and not have someone just pull you along. What
Yeah.
practitioners can't do is just continue to pick you up mentally and emotionally. You have to do that for yourself.
Mhm.
Now, I did bring on a mental health coach into the program who goes live twice a week for the entire community. So we
Mhm.
have someone dedicated just to help our coaches and our practitioners and doctors out. We outsource the mental health. We say, look, Rachel Turner's our EFT hypnosis mental health coach. She also had ulcerative colitis. She's been good for a long time. So she does dedicated calls and trainings and even privates around food fear, medical trauma. I'm going to be sick again. What if another flare? All those what ifs and trauma, so that the coach can just coach while we still have outsourced that. So I really think you have to separate and have full calls around what's happening mentally and emotionally, and then have another one just on the science, the lab work, and the protocol.
Yeah. Like, and there's a kind of different approach for like someone in an acute setting, getting them kind of out of that, and then dealing with all the traumas after that and supporting them through when you kind of look back, and that's when you get that fear and you get scared and you start to, go back into the same patterns. So interrupting those is really important. And I think that's amazing that you have that for your community. So tell us a bit about your program. So you're very much niched into the IBD, Crohn's, colitis, but what about celiac? Like, same thing. It's damage to the gut lining. Like you just talked about it, that different diagnoses,
Yep.
but I know you've niched into that. But so that is the patients that you're taking, the community that you're serving, and then that makes it easier for people to just know to find you for those types of problems. Correct? And so they come into your program.
Yes.
What happens? Like what does it look like for them?
Yeah. So our program's called S.H.I.E.L.D, supplements, herbs, imagination, exercise, lifestyle, and diet. We help build your custom shield and then train you and show you all the variables of how you can manipulate that for your personal experience. So when you come in, every single person in our program, again, going back to the balance of impact and scalability, every single person gets their own coach. I believe for you to get maximum results, you need one-on-one private coaching along with a training program, along with different trainings on different topics. So we have one of our doctors is our professor of nutrition. He'll go live once a week on all things nutrition for IBD. And we have a doctor of an ND who does a live on all things supplements, herbs, and even some Eastern medicine because he specializes in Chinese medicine as well. And then we have Rachel Turner who goes live on our mentals. So it's almost like a university, right? It's a place to continue to grow. It's on your phone, it's on your computer. So when you come in, you have your university, you have your step-by-step training in the S.H.I.E.L.D program, you have your one-on-one coach,
Mhm.
and then we have our IBD shop, which is our warehouse. We have like 220 SKUs where our team will start helping customize things for you because we find that so many people in the beginning, we carry like 8 different binders because one person is severely reactive to
Yeah.
activated charcoal and one person severely reactive even to fulvic and humic acid. One person just needs a microscopic amount of bentonite clay. And same thing with antipathogens. We have many different type of antiparasitic or antibacterial or anti-candida and some for children that can be used with young kids and some with people who are ready for more intense high level dosages. And so we help customize that and we help teach you and we give presentations on what you can do and why. So you have access to that. And if you're listening to this and you really feel like the S.H.I.E.L.D program might be a hit for you, you can schedule a link below, but the link will let us know that you came from Stephanie. So please click on the link below so we know that you came from Stephanie and we can make sure everyone understands the value. The next is we make sure that you are given your supplements. When you come in, we pay for your supplements starting out. So when we come in, we give you a coach, we customize a plan for you, and then those beginner supplements are basically included in your first round. So whether we want to use a certain probiotic or an antipathogenic or a binder or a supportive supplement or detox support, we customize that for you, and then we give that for you. So a lot of it's done for you in our program because we know you're hurting, you're in a tough place, you just need that one-on-one, you need a plan built. So we customize your nutrition plan, we customize your supplement plan, we customize what your day looks like. We make sure it makes sense with where you are, whether you're in a hospital or you're working a full-time job or you've got 5 kids. So we make that make sense. And then your coach, you have DM support with your coach. So we have an app where you can DM your coach and make sure everything's being taken care of. It includes 3 months of coaching in the program.
Mhm.
And then you can always do more coaching if you want to after that. So it's really a universe. It's a digital college. It we have specialists in different categories. It's all encompassing. We're constantly adding and changing it. We have a dedicated team just to critiquing and adding more to our presentations, like whether it's a parasite cleanse or how to deal with EMFs or a liver detox or any of these things. It's a home. It's a home, and everyone there has IBD. And
Mhm.
Stephanie, the reason I just kept with IBD is because I really believe in this idea of keeping it very niche. IBD is an epidemic
Yeah.
and it's growing vastly. And it's just a matter of a doctor calls it this or calls it that. So it doesn't really matter what kind of inflammatory bowel disease. And even same with IBS. If you're getting some of these really severe issues with IBS, we are happy to work because a lot of it's the same root issue. I mean, even if you don't have the high calprotectin and the endoscopy looks normal, there's probably still microbiome imbalances, poor digestion,
Mhm.
backed up drainage pathways,
Mhm.
underlying infection, maybe vagal nerve issues.
Mhm.
So what we notice in functional medicine is there's almost always a reason why the body's expressing itself. And so that's what we look at in Shield. And Shield's not something that's just stuck, right? We're moving 100 miles per hour into adding new things. What we are and what we can build for our community is 5 times greater than it was 3 years ago. I'd say about 5x if I was generically giving it a value of what we've added. I mean, we didn't have professors and some of these doctors who were specializing in different topics on our team doing lives, and even the amount of coaches we have. And we have a coach now moving to Dubai so we can work in that part of the world. We have a coach in London. We've got a coach in Florida. We've got a coach in Texas. We've got a coach in Michigan. I mean, you name it. And another thing that's really special about everyone in the Shield program is they all have Crohn's and colitis themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that was a big thing for me is like what did I need? I needed to talk with someone who had Crohn's colitis. So all of our coaches have Crohn's colitis, all of them. We have 7 or 8 coaches around the world and they've been able to reverse their symptoms.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. And we, even our support specialists all have Crohn's colitis. So if you schedule a call with our team, then you'll be talking to someone who has Crohn's colitis, who's been able to reverse their symptoms of Crohn's colitis, who's been in the Shield program for years. And we have people who've had multiple surgeries, been on biologics for 20 years, had this disease for 40 years. I've worked with 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds with diagnosed IBD.
Wow.
And this is what we do. We put out a testimony a week with this, reversing people's symptoms. And again, what makes us unique is we customize your plan. You get a dedicated one-on-one person. Everyone on the team, including myself, has had Crohn's and colitis and had to deal and live in these same shoes. Everyone in our community has the same disease as you.
Mhm.
Every single person. We have like about 1,200 members in the Shield program right now. And you have access to talk to them around the world. We have a dedicated parents thread. We have a dedicated thread for people in Australia or India or UK. We have a huge community in Canada, UK, all over Europe. And we have and this is what we do. And we're very passionate about it.
Mhm.
And so we're continuing just to grow and stay in our space and say, how can we serve?
Mhm.
How can we scale without losing impact? And how can we serve a community? So if you're
Mhm.
dealing with IBD or IBS, in my personal belief, I think what we're building and what we have is one of a kind. There'll be nothing like it in the world, and it will be built by the people for the people of
Mhm.
IBD.
Mhm. That's really powerful. It's really hard to like for me personally, like I couldn't pick a niche because my problems were so like just toxic overload and they moved from different parts of my body. So everyone we have for coaches has definitely been through the program and got better, but they all have different things. I love the whole
Mhm.
like how like centered you've been able to get. It just takes like the choosing, when they have that problem, like it's like you come like
Yeah.
it's really hard to niche down. So yeah.
Can I tell you my 2 cents on why I think it's so hard to niche down?
Yeah.
Because the root issues for all disease tend to be the same.
I know, but that's what I mean. So we all had the same toxic load, like crazy symptoms. One was called, oh, you have mold toxicity or SIRS, or,
Yeah.
mine, I've been labeled with everything. Like you had celiac. Oh no, you have colitis. Oh no. And then I got that better, right? Going through this. And then I had all these neurological flares. So all the neurological, like Bell's palsy, stroke-like symptoms, but
Yeah.
they all come from the same toxin bucket. So it's almost like, our niche is toxic load. We're trying to say, is it stealth pathogens? It's like, you're like, but we work with a lot of athletes, but here you are, you were an athlete, right? And
Yeah.
you're explaining your like problems at the beginning. Oh, I'm eating all this way. I'm pre-game stimulants or pre-workout stimulants. Like
Yeah.
it's the same story I tell to the athletes, but what am I treating when I treat an athlete, or I treat someone that told they have chronic Lyme, or I'm treating someone, we're always looking for all the other stealth pathogens, toxic load, right? We're looking at environmental toxins. We're looking at
Hmm.
all the electromagnetic fields, like all of these, like it's the same thing. And what does it come down to? That it affects like our immune system gets
Yeah.
dysregulated. And like we have to like peel back all those layers to get somebody back to functioning. And yours, you've niched to say this is IBD, but we're treating the same things from what you explained to me, from what you're
Yeah.
telling, from what,
And yeah, and people, the biggest difference in the diseases is how people are responding to the healing process.
yeah,
When I deal with IBD, we'll have our own specific type of parasite cleanse because people with IBD are so sensitive in that gut, and they will go 25 bowel movements a day versus someone with just Lyme disease or mold or doesn't have that gut expression, might just be herxing, have no energy, get massive acne, or anxiety, bipolar thoughts, or
yeah,
severe arthritis where they can't even get up out of bed, chronic fatigue.
yeah. It's
It's
just where,
manifesting in different ways.
yeah, 100%. But
Yeah.
I have had both where I had bowel movements, like 25
Hmm.
bowel movements a day, like
Hmm.
urgency, like going to the washroom in my pants, essentially,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
bleeding bowels, all of that. And I herxed, like parasite cleanse changed my life at that point. And I herxed in a way that was much more manageable to me with IBD than when, I got or quote unquote, whatever made me more constipated 10 years later
Hmm.
was way worse for the herxing, like I said, and the neurological herxing, all of that. Like,
Yeah.
one benefit I think to the more inflammatory bowel is like at least you're purging. Like when my body started holding on to things, God, I would have paid money to have it coming out, right? But it's all about
Yeah.
getting back to balance. So it's been interesting being on like either end of the scale, but like I totally understand what you're saying. Like you don't want someone they're herx and then they're bleeding more and having way more bowel movements. But
Well,
just
people with IBD do have constipation. Usually, people
yeah,
with Crohn's
100%.
disease and small intestine issues will get that constipation. Well, they'll write us and say, Dana, I've got IBD. Can you help? I'm not like a lot of your testimonies because a lot of the testimonies are I had 20 bowel movements a day. Now
Yeah.
I'm at 1 to 2 normal calprotectin. I've gained all this weight back. And look, what we're talking about is extremely difficult. It's not easy. It needs to be customized to you. You want to be
Yeah.
surrounded with a like-minded community. You want to be
100%.
in a place where you can continue to get trained. We spend 80, $100,000 on college, for a piece of paper. But what
Mhm.
about in our skill set to understand our body? We have to be able to become aware of toxins. We have to become aware of things that are hurting us. We have to realize it's a personal experience. So toxins are generic, but how they're expressed in our body and which ones are commonly, affecting us the most, that's a personal experience.
Mhm.
So you learn generically and then you personalize it, you
Yeah.
integrate it, which refines your intuition. You have to keep your mind strong. Healing starts in the mind. Keep
Mhm.
your mind strong and then continue to connect with others.
Mhm.
What I also love is if you're sitting there, if I'm talking to a person who doesn't have IBD, I can learn some stuff from them, but there's this disconnection on how much we can learn from each other or relate with each other's symptoms.
Mhm.
And so in the community, when you have 200, 300, 400 people who've all been diagnosed IBD and they're all sharing their experience on different types of healing journeys, it's quite a phenomenon on how much we can learn, how much we can grow, but then how much different we can be in one person's response versus the other.
Mhm.
And it's not an easy thing. It can be done, and it's not linear. Like I'm sure you're still learning. You still have things you want to do in your health. I know I do. I still have things I want to do in my health, and I'm still learning. So as you get into this, also see it as something that's going to empower you for the rest of your life. What you're building is your ability to stay free.
Mhm.
If you just hire or go into Stephanie's program, my program, or anyone's program, you get in there just for the ABCs, and you don't realize that this is a lifestyle, that this is a change and an empowerment to stay free, stay healthy, to feel good for 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Then it's going to continue to let you down. And it's going to continue to build this trauma in you that I'm different, I can't heal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I, see commonly with people. I'm different, I can't heal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when you have that, I'm curious, I want to become self-empowered, which is how you got here, Stephanie. It's how I got here. I'm curious, I want to be self-empowered. This is actually my ticket to freedom, to live my best life.
Mm-hmm.
Because the best version of myself and healing chronic disease are the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to an NFL star or anyone, any athlete or anyone of high level, they're going to say, Dane, I want to run all my lab tests. I want you to get all this stuff out. I want to check everything. Tell me where the mold's at, the biofilms. I want to get my liver as clean as possible. I want to see where my CRP, calprotectin is. I want to see all my blood work. I want to get myself optimized. I want to Brian Johnson this crap right now, right? And that is the energy that's going to help you be your best. It's the same in marriage. You want to be married for 50 years and make sure you don't get divorced. You have to be offensive about it. You want to be in great shape for 50 years. You have to be offensive about it. Mm-hmm. If you want to be happy and excited and feel like you lived your best life, you have to be offensive about it. Don't stay on your heels, stay on the offense and get connected with the community, get in a program that's going to help you do it. I think it's one of the biggest piece of advice I would give. Wherever you go, whoever you feel trust and integrity with, get in a program, invest in yourself. Yeah. Invest in yourself. I am always now still investing in myself. That's the biggest value, because you're just going to get stronger, more capable, more empowered, have more of an outlet of places that can serve you and help you create your dreams. Mm-hmm. So
and
that's
attracting those patients that want to be offensive about their health. Mm-hmm. It also helps as a practitioner when you have those people who are they're ready to do anything. And I'm not saying blind trust, but if you're going to hire a coach or be in someone's program, you better be aligned with them and be ready to dive into it, because that's when you're going to get the best results with them too. To some extent, I've been a patient, right? So mm-hmm. So when you're a good patient, or when it's because you trust that person and and it's never going to be perfect. So we talked about Herxine, we're going to do personalized plans for you, but doesn't mean it's going to be perfect and you're not going to Herx, and anyone can guarantee that. And if anyone's guaranteeing you that, run the other way, because there are no guarantees in the type of processes that we're kind of going through. Yes, you get good results with the people that you have to do your own research, but you also have to have a little bit of you
got to trust your coach. And that's the thing that we really go for, and why all my coaches have to have Crohn's and colitis, because time and time again, I've had someone come to me who worked with an ND or some doctor who read all this great stuff in a book and then put the patient on it and completely messed up the patient because it was good science, but they didn't know what they were doing for that client. Yeah. And so I always tell people, when I work with you, I play defense first, then get on the offense. It's there can Herx, it's a thin line, but I'm wearing a seatbelt. I'm put two hands on the wheel. I'm driving the speed limit, so to speak. You have to be with someone who knows what they're doing and who's been through it. If you're coach, and that's also the thing about that relatability. If your coach hasn't had any personal experience trying to heal themselves, if they haven't done the protocols, this is a big problem right now in functional medicine. I'm seeing a lot of doctors who are learning stuff at conferences, or they're learning stuff from supplement companies. They've never done it themselves, and they're recommending it to their patients and clients.
Yeah, I know. I've done everything that I use on people, I have taken myself.
100%. That's how it should be. You have to do this yourself, because when your doctor or your practitioner has done it themselves, it's going to give you so much intricacies. When I'm working with someone and I can see the slightest Herx, I can see the slightest what's experience going on, how you responding in a sauna, how you sleeping, I'm looking at lab work, and it just gives me the littlest idea. And understanding how to titration of supplements is absolutely a chess match in key. And that's why we also do private coaching. You come in, and the first thing we do is we build you a custom plan. Then you start going through your training, because we want you to be able to do things the right way. If you come in and read this exciting thing about parasites or mold, or about changing your diet, even going on a full liquid diet or a semi-elemental diet, or just having bone broth, You have to be careful with that. You can lose 10, 15 pounds you couldn't afford to lose. You have
Yeah.
to look at your blood work and understand where your electrolytes are and your metabolics. And there's so much good stuff out there that has to be done for you and that personal experience and how your body's responding. And you have to start slow, you have to test it. And then you and your coach need to agree, hey, let's move right, let's push this up, let's take this out. And then for me, I was talking with another guy. Ben Greenfield recommended me to this guy the other day, and I talked to him and I said, how often do you meet your practitioner? He goes, once a quarter. I said, oh, you're not going to get any results doing that.
No.
Because I can't get rid of the diarrhea. They put me on liposomal PC and they've got me on low FODMAP and they've got me on a parasite cleanse and I've done all this stuff. And he goes, I just can't get rid of the diarrhea. And you talk with your coach once a quarter? How
Yeah.
can you change? He's doing the same thing over and over again without
Yeah.
refinements.
Yeah.
You've got to be in a position to refine.
Mhm.
Okay. If you're in a severe state, here's my recommendation to you. You should be doing refinements every 7 to 14 days if you're in an extreme. Now, those variables, I would say don't change more than 3 variables at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 if you're an expert, if you're working like a Jedi and you have a lot of experience, maybe you change 5 variables. What's a variable? What you're eating, what you're taking, and the dosage of things that you're taking, okay? What you're adding in, those are all variables. So 3 to 5 variables at a time. If you're really extreme, I'm going to see someone every 7 days. I've worked with some people who are in an ER room and it was life threatening where I'd see him every 3 to 4 days for like a month. And we just do small tweaks because it can change quick.
Yeah.
But that's also, you have to realize that's very expensive, guys. You
Yeah.
can't, it's no business can sustain that.
No.
And so understand how business goes. Understand that when you work with a company, what is needed for them to even feed their team
Yeah.
and do this. But also listen to their heart. Do they have the
Yeah.
right heart? Do they have empathy? Do they really want to help? They have
Yeah.
good intentions. That goes a long way.
It's in Canada, it's hard. People are used to getting quote unquote healthcare for free. There's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of they're not used to this out of pocket. And so we get pushback and we are doing a concierge service for like the cheapest price that's not even possible for us to sustain. And we're changing, everything is changing right now. But that's what we've been on them with the coaching every minute. They like similar to you
Yeah.
guys with the messaging where we're like, okay, troubleshoot this, troubleshoot that. But and we get good results, but and that's what like because I thought of all the ways I had to tweak, but really the program should be like 35 grand a year and it's
Yeah.
pennies compared to that. So, but people don't realize the value, right? When it comes to health. Well, maybe they do in the long term, but yeah, so
Well, that's
being
that's
out
you
of
and
business, but trying to have impact and scalability, just like you were
yeah.
talking about, is that, yeah.
I think, Stephanie, we're really aligned on a lot of things as practitioners in this space. And here's what needs to be said, and everyone needs to hear this. That's you and I. It's our job as CEOs to build systems that are affordable,
Yeah.
that work, and are scalable.
Yes.
That's why I tell the world, I say, look, I gave it up a few years trying to be the best Crohn's colitis coach or practitioner in the world. I'd say I'm one of the best. I'd go up there and shoot threes with anybody.
Yeah.
But I now have doctors on my staff. I have practitioners on my staff where it's about empowering them to just focus on that. So I can lead and say, what's our global solution? What are the resources our community need? How can we get this in people's hands?
Yeah.
And so I want to be the world's best CEO of Crohn's colitis solutions. And it's based on passion, mission, what I went through, what people need, and also what is the expression when people are coming in, what's their experience?
Yeah.
How can we continue to serve them?
Yeah.
We need to get lab work available globally. We need to continue. We need to get supplements available globally. It is a problem getting supplements from the United States to Canada or Canada to UK or to Dubai or to India. I have clients in India, Africa, everywhere. It is a problem also with time zones. It is a problem also with understanding, like putting together presentations that are generic, right? Because if me and you put a plan out there, a program that's generic about how to, certain people aren't going to be able to do that right, or they're going to have a nasty reaction. So you have to be very good about what you're saying to the general public.
Yeah.
That's why customization is a part of it, but then generic training is a part of it. If you go to Harvard, it's one professor to 300 kids.
Yeah.
And they're paying $80,000 a year for that.
Yeah.
So we have to say, how do we do this with integrity? How do we scale training? But also, you guys listening, You're not practitioners. This is not your career. You haven't spent the last 15 years like me and Stephanie learning this stuff.
Mhm.
Like it needs to be simplified for you. It needs to be put in layman's terms.
Yeah.
That's why, in my opinion, you need a coach.
Yeah.
It needs to be customized for you. They're going to help you build and customize your plan and answer your questions. At the same time, you need to be responsible to become the CEO, to actually go and do the work, to continue to ask the right questions, and
Yeah.
to ask why. Do not take a supplement or do a protocol unless you understand why. If you can't give me 2 to 3 sentences on what it does and why you're personally taking it,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be taking it.
I agree.
And that is how you get empowered. You do that for 6 months, you do that for a year, 2 years. I'm on trainings and I got all these people in the comments telling me all this great strategy. It's like they have mini degrees
Yeah.
in functional medicine because they've done the work for 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years. They're showing up. And then if something happens, goes wrong, they get mold exposure, a virus activates in their body, the full moon comes and parasites are going crazy all over
Yeah.
the place. You can respond to adversity. So last big point I want to say, write this down, everybody. The cure for disease is the ability to respond to adversity. It is not to eradicate it. You cannot eradicate energy. You cannot eradicate bad days. You cannot eradicate a body's reaction. You cannot eradicate something going haywire. You can only respond. And that is why I call it shield. Respond to adversity, build your shield, fall in love with the process of becoming more empowered, and you will look your best. You'll have more energy than ever. You'll have the best sex life you possibly can have. You'll look great in the mirror. You'll age slower. You'll get rid of your food fear. I can eat salads. I can eat grains. I can eat nuts and seeds. I can have steaks. I can eat out at a restaurant. I could go eat 4 pieces of a large Papa John's pizza with all that trash, all that poison, and my shield can handle it. Do I ever do it? No, I don't do it. But I know I can, and that's why I don't have food fear.
Yeah.
To eliminate the trauma, okay? Eliminate the trauma, build your personalized answer, become the answer, surround yourself with your team, your mentors, your community, and decide to invest in becoming your best self. And this will be the best thing that ever happened to you, guaranteed.
I love it. Very powerful. I really wanted to cheer over here because I mean, everyone should just eat this up, even if you don't have IBD. I mean, listen to the principles here. I mean, and if you know anyone that does, then send them to Dane and get them into the Shield program, because obviously he's going to teach them and give them the foundation that they need. I mean, you've inspired me too as a CEO, and I'm already, going towards that more, having more impact or scalability, because more people need to know about this. More people need coached. More people need to be in part of programs like ours. So,
Well, it's the best way you can serve the world. And everyone, I would say this to Stephanie offline. I'll say it in front of everyone because that's what integrity is. You serve the world better by helping more,
mhm.
right? Not keeping yourself small.
Yeah,
That's how you serve. And you know in your spirit, in your heart of hearts, that's the answer. But how do you do it in integrity?
yeah,
And how do you do it with real impact? What you need is you need the right team. You need to train leaders.
mhm.
Me and you both need to train leaders, and we need to empower those who are great,
Yeah,
and we need to get on more stages. We need to write more books.
yeah,
We need to serve this world, and we need to come together because
yeah,
you and I are on the same team to say, no, there is
yeah,
a left turn here. There is something you can do about it.
yeah,
Drugs are not the only answer and only option.
yeah,
And we can do this. And it might cost money. That's what great things are. They cost
yeah.
money. And I'm telling you, money's not enough. You need money, time, and energy. You need all three.
Yeah,
You need all three. But this is one thing, Stephanie, I'll put a button on it right here.
yeah.
Name one thing that's more valuable than becoming self-empowered over your health in this world.
Nothing.
A private jet? A yacht? $1 billion? Steve Jobs, the only thing he never got in life was self-empowerment over his health.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
the only thing he didn't
Billionaire.
accomplish.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just did a talk and I said that sentence at the end. I mean, I said, if someone offered me $10 million today
Yeah.
and I had to be as sick as I was, I said I'd wake up in the same tax bracket, because your health is more valuable than anything. Offer someone,
Yeah.
I'll give you $1 billion, but tomorrow you'll die. No one takes that money.
Or in
So,
a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now,
yes,
time's worth way more than money.
exactly. Exactly. So,
And my ND said this to me. He goes, most people spend their health. Most people give away their health to get rich, and then they spend their riches to get healthy.
Yeah,
And I
100%.
thought that was so brilliant. Now you can do both. Everyone out there, you can do
Yes.
both. When
Yes.
you get healthy, you will be able to make more money. You'll be a
Yeah.
better employee. You'll be a better employer. You'll be a better husband. You'll have more energy. You'll be a better father and mother and everything. This is the most valuable thing on the planet is what we're talking about here. And it's beyond just a career for me. It is the most valuable thing. I keep seeing more people who have all the money, all the power in the world keep coming this direction. It is a tsunami in this direction. You have to understand your connection to Earth. There are toxins everywhere. There are infections everywhere. We live in a detox world. And when you own this, you're going to see the best version of yourself, healing your disease and becoming the best version of yourself that makes 100 million, that looks the best, that can has a six-pack abs and looks great in the mirror. Everything you ever wanted and healing disease are the exact same thing.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
when my life changed. I said, my God, it's the same. It's the exact same. You want good skin? Get into functional medicine. You want good energy? Get into functional medicine. You want to
Mhm.
have more, you want to be able to work a 12-hour day and still be okay and not need a cup of coffee? Get into functional medicine. I don't even drink coffee. I have no caffeine,
Mhm.
ever. I've never had a cup of coffee in my life, by the way.
Oh,
I
wow.
used to have caffeine supplements, but
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never had a cup of coffee. It's like one of my claims. I don't like the taste of it, but I've had tons of caffeine supplements,
It's
right?
an acquired taste and you just didn't do it
Yeah,
enough.
I didn't. It made me throw up. It was before an exam in college. I never went back to it. But I have no coffee. I can drink alcohol. I could go have a beer. I'll be okay. My shield's strong enough. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in 2024. It's May. It's mid-May 24. I haven't had a sip of alcohol.
Mhm.
I'm just more passionate about where I'm going and why. Get rid of the limits.
Yeah.
This is what you want. Get involved somewhere, grow, learn, adapt, invest, and then go make more money as you invest because you're healthier, because you have more time, because you have more energy, because you have more freedom. That
Yeah.
is the ticket. That's what I would do. If I was in your shoes out there listening and I was to start over right now, I would be looking for a program. I would say, Mom, save that 30 grand. Let's get in a program. Let's get account. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm going to be accountable now and I'm going to go because my mom and dad are the ones who spent the money when I was 19, 20 years old. And we
Yeah.
had to learn the hard way. And it was because I wasn't accountable. I wasn't ready to step into those shoes.
Yeah. It happens that
So,
that tipping point can be young, but this was amazing. I could keep talking to you forever because you're super passionate. You've got like just all of the insights, but I thank you so much for your time. I know people are going to get a ton out of this. So thank you so much for being here. And we're going to list how people can find you. We're going to put the links in that we talked about, but anything else you want to say in closing after all
healing is,
the great stuff
yeah,
you said?
I know, right? Healing is possible. You are divine. Just connect whoever you work with, trust and integrity. Those are the two things I want you to look for, and a customized plan. And yeah, Dane Johnson one on Crohn's Colitis, Dane Johnson one on Instagram or Crohn's Colitis _lifestyle or Crohn's Colitis lifestyle.com. And we're here for you. But click on the link below if you do come to us or want to work with us. So we know you came from Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie, for having me. God
Thank
bless.
you so much. Thank you.